Welcome back to another Anime Rambles. Today we're going to be debating the most badass chads in anime. What exactly is going to qualify for this list? We need two requirements to enter this amazing tournament bracket arc. We need you to be as muscly and as big as possible. Maybe in a future video we'll do the most average build chads in anime. But today we're doing the most muscly chads we can find. And number two, you need to be as chattily as possible. We ain't taking no muscly pussy boys on this list. We want you to be as big, brawny, and muscly badass as possible. That is the qualifications. So let's take a look at our bracket tonight. This is the wrong slide. Here we go. So we've got 8 challengers on this bracket, because if I put any more on this bracket, this would be an hour-long video, and I don't want to do that. Uh, to clarify what we mean by most badass, we are not going to be comparing them to each other. We're going to be comparing them to the world they live in as a whole. Which means, for our first bracket, we have Kenpachi Zaraki from Bleach, who is up against a mighty fine challenger, Thorkel from Vinland Saga. Now, we will be not comparing if they can beat each other. We're going to be comparing their own version of badassery in the world that they live in currently. For Kenpachi Zaraki, that's Bleach, and for Thorkel, that's Vinland Saga. Now, both these characters exhibit incredible, vast networks of badassery where no opponent can ever live up to the strength that they require of them, which makes them go out and seek harder and more interesting fights with stronger and stronger opponents. Kenpachi Zaraki, he ties bells in his hair and covers up one of his eyes with a can't remember what it was, but it was a creature that sucks away his soul pressure, so fights can be harder for him. He does all of this to make battles more challenging because nothing is hard enough for this absolute unit of a man. He is the squad captain of squad 478. Oh God. With a quick Google search, we will learn which exact squad he was from. The 11th Division wasn't even a little bit close. But all the members of his squad pride themselves in their non-keto based Zanpakuto and their sheer raw fighting prowess. This man leads Chads because he is a Giga Chad. Up against our man Thorkel, who found working for the side of his country too boring. It would make the war not entertaining enough. So he switched sides to make the war fun. Any man who looks at a real war and thinks, it's going to be too boring if I'm on your side, we're going to win too easily, I'm going to switch sides, is a huge Chad move, especially in a Viking show where this man literally throws giant pikes of woods and impales boats. This man single-handedly carries the fate of entire wars on his back, which is not something I can say for Kenpachi Zaraki. However, Kenpachi Zaraki's sheer drive to nerf himself in order to face stronger opponents makes him a close competitor with our man Thorkel, which makes me have to think hard about which one to move through these brackets. Is it Thorkel, the might of 100 men, someone who could sway wars with a single fight, or Kenpachi Zaraki, enough soul pressure to incapacitate most Soul Reapers with a single gaze while he's already nerfed? I think we're going to have to give it to Kenpachi Zaraki in this first round. He's going to be moving up into our next slot of the bracket. Next, we have Yuji Rohanma from Baki. Insanely over the top show, which prides itself on its insane over the top fights. And coming up from this season, we have Ao Todo from Jujutsu Kaisen coming in with an epic fight in the last episode of Jujutsu Kaisen, absolutely blowing his actually, by the time this goes up, second to last episode of Jujutsu Kaisen, blowing his competitor out of his water with his non-traditional fighting stance by switching places with his opponents while clapping and making the greatest faces I've ever seen, making his fight scene the best of our current season, and I would say the best of this past decade, pushing it into a high octane fight. But his competitor is very strong and he has quite a few more years on him. We have Yuji Rohanma, who doesn't want to be the strongest man. He wants to have the strength equal to that of any nation's military, and he certainly does. And he proves it with every time he steps into any sort of fighting ring and or competition. This man exudes physical pressure. His mere presence sends sheer fear into his opponents' minds. Toto is still a high schooler, and he has amazing lines, such as his introduction, which is "Tell me what kind of woman you like," which is very out of norm for our shonen protagonists and side characters, but it still solidifies him as a unique presence within our shonen bubble. But Yujiro Hanma has some years on him, but with time, training, and sheer chatitude, I feel like eventually Toto would be able to pass Yujiro Hanma. But as for where we are now, Yujiro Hanma moves up. Ooh, this is getting exciting. Next, we have two men with mustaches, which is a coincidence why we're next to each other. But we have Seven Deadly Sins, Lion Sin of Pride, Escanor, versus Major Armstrong, Alex Luis Armstrong, youngest son of the Armstrong family. Escanor irradiates pride with every pore of his being, but only half the time. His night form is timid. Will this deduct points from him? As well as Major Armstrong is built like a truck, and his alchemy is to be feared by all. However, his sheer soft side makes him as lovable as a teddy bear. Do these take away from his badass feats? I think a little bit, just a tad, but his sheer fighting style and sheer aptitude for battle makes him a heavy competitor in this. But he also gets outdistanced by his sister in every way, which is not very Chadly. But if we ever do a biggest female Chads in anime, I feel like his sister is definitely a top competitor for our top spot. So I think this does add some points for him. But Escanor's day mode, it's like being injected with sheer chatitude. Everything he says, every word out of his mouth, I do not hate those who are weaker than me. I merely pity them. When he jumps to the top of a building because he doesn't like being looked down upon by lower life forms. Everything he does irradiates his pure awe and strength, as well as his one-handed axe Rita, which is too heavy to be lifted. His fight with Gallant, where if he ran away, he would immediately lose, and the sheer fear this man exuded from his presence made him reject his own nature and run away and lose the battle. I think Escanor absolutely blows Alex Louis Armstrong out of the competition. Moving on to our final members of this bracket, we've got two war leaders here. We've got Yami Sukahiro of Black Clover, captain of the Black Bulls, versus Alexander, King of Conquerors, Alexander the Great, or Rider from Fate Zero. One of the greatest characters in all of Seinen. He is exuding Chad energy with his tiny Tyreus Tyroid. Oh god, I can't say his noble phantasm. but his infinite army, which all his Conrad souls are still cheering and still willing to fight for him even after death, do they still push for this man's Chadley presence? Or we have Yami Sukahiro, which is a pillar for the Black Bulls, and his catchphrase, just push past your limits. His lazy chill back attitude with his sheer strength when it comes down to wire to literally cut through dimensions shows his sheer Chadley aptitude. But which one of these conquerors can push into our next slot, into our quarterfinals? Quarterfinals? Yes, quarterfinals. Who pushes in this more Chadley way? I think that they both invigorate those who follow them with the willpower to push to be better than themselves. But I feel like Alexander the Conqueror or Haxandar, King of Conquerors, has bigger presence, bigger energy, and sheer Chadley aptitude in order to push into our next bracket. Now, moving into the quarterfinals. No, these Yes, these are the semifinals. I got it wrong before. In this corner, we have Kenpachi Zaraki versus Yuji Rohanma. We talked about both these competitors before. They fought powerful opponents to make it to this place, but they've each earned their spots here, and they're not going to give it up without a fight. We have Yuji Rohanma, who has some of the most aggressive eyebrows in all of anime, versus Kenpachi Zaraki, whose sheer voice and his shoulder lolly can push past most competitors. But in their worlds, Kenpachi is only a squad captain. However, Yuji Rohanma has the strength to fight a nation's military. And with that fact alone, I think Yuji Rohanma has to push ahead. Kenpachi Zaraki might be able to completely slay you by just putting a second hand on his sword. But Yuji Rohanma, in his own world, can devastate all of her opponents, including militarized countries. So he is going to be moving up to our finals. All right, now we have Escanor, the Lion Son of Pride, versus Alexander, King of Conquerors. These are both mighty fierce competitors, people who exude pride with every breath they take, and who people want to follow just because of how sheerly strong and how much charisma they exude. But one of these men is not like the other. One of these men is an absolute simp, and that takes away a few Chad points. And Alexander, King of Conquerors, pushes past the boundaries of what can be considered simps and makes everyone who sees him simp for him instead. So Alexander, King of Conquerors, pushes in to our final bracket. Now, we have the two red-headed terrors. One comparable to any nation's military, and the other one able to amass an infinite amount of soldiers in order to fight for him with nothing but his sheer charisma. One who's pushed his strength to such a point where he does not need people in order to fight for him. He can simply fight anyone and anything for his own strength, for his own passion, for his own will. While the other one harnessed his charisma and his sheer aptitude to lead in order to establish himself as a presence in this Chadley bracket, in order to push himself onto this list, in order to make people view him as the final point Chad, in order for him to become our crowned victor of this tournament. Yuji Rohanma fought hard to get to this point, but having the strength to fight any nation's military is nowhere near as Chadley as being able to become a symbol for everyone to view as the ideal Chad, the king of conquerors, the king of Chads, Alexander, King of Conquerors. the greatest Chad in this bracket. Maybe we'll do another one where we pit our resident champion against other Chads. But right now, he stands at the top of this bracket. If you like this video, leave a like down below and leave a comment on who you think should have won. Who you think I missed in this bracket, who you would have put in, and who do you think could beat Alexander, King of Conquerors, as the Chadliest character on this bracket. I can't wait to see what you put down below. And if you like videos like this, please subscribe. I love doing this. This was a lot of fun. This wasn't a ton of setup, but it was fun to set up the bracket. I thought this was a fun video. And subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks everyone for watching. See y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.